Here we are, it's time again for Cricbuzz Live, and we've got a great lineup for you in terms of players on the field as well as right here in the studios of Cricbuzz Live. It's Jay-Z time, in case you're wondering what I'm talking about. In the house, we've got J for Joy and Z for Zaheer Khan.
Well done, Gautam.
I was wondering, you were giving me a strange look and was wondering where's Jay-Z coming from. We're in a different part of the world, but that's what this program is all about, having a bit of fun, and we've got a great lineup today.
Yeah, fabulous matches. Fabulous matches. Looking forward to it because it's truly a Super Sunday. Yeah. Really good matches.
Yes, Super Sunday. And the beauty of what it's been is we've got two sets of matches at two ends of the table. We've got a top table clash and we've got a bottom of the table clash without teams who really have that bottom as a familiar place to be in. Mumbai and Rajasthan.
Yeah, but I think the table is wide open. You see one result and the whole table is going to look different. You saw that with RCB last night. After winning one match, they've jumped up the table. So I think, it's that phase of the tournament. I think, only when all the teams have played about 8 matches, you will know that who is cementing the top half and who is kind of relishing at the bottom of the table.
So therefore, okay, let's have a quick look at where we stand and exactly why Zaheer Khan was mentioning how open it is, because one result is all that changes things. Yes, at the moment, Mumbai, Delhi Daredevils, Rajasthan Royals languishing there at the bottom, and we've got pretty much a top table clash here between 6 playing 6. Kings 11 Punjab may be up there on 8, but with games in hand, you'd have to say both CSK and SRH would fancy themselves to be slipping into that top spot with 8 points each.
Yeah, given the run rates they have, either of them win, they'll almost definitely jump over Kings 11.
But on the subject of tables, before we go any further, I'm really surprised that this red table is still here, because with GK not in the house, I thought it's his own personal possession now. He auctions it, he does what he feels like with it. How has he left it here?
GK is watching this. He's watching every move you make, just like straight out of that police number. He's watching. You do anything
he's
to
left
this
the table here. The table needs,
and the producer will get a
certain
right
level
now.
of attention. The table needs certain level of attention. So you have to live up to that. I'm glad you brought it up now. So right throughout the day you got double header, so you have enough time. You have to give the table enough attention.
I was giving it its due. I was giving it its due.
Respect.
Yeah, GK, if you're watching, your table is in good hands, good feet. I'm not touching it at the moment, but we will give it all its due. Hashtag red table, don't forget. Many ways to get through to us. But now let's get back to the two teams there. First game, SRH versus CSK, and let's start with a very interesting pattern that we've developed. Let's just remind you, that's the match coming up. We've been having a look at the result of the last 4 games that both teams have played, and it's eerily identical. Both of them have 3 wins and 1 loss to the same teams. They've beaten the same 3 teams and they've lost to that identical same team, which of course the top of the table, Kings 11 Punjab. And if you have a look at that, look at the kind of results. Both the matches against Mumbai Indians were 1 wicket. Mumbai will feel those should have been points in the bag for them. How bizarre is this, Joy?
Yeah, it's not. This is straight out of those. Remember, they used to have this standard thing about Lincoln Kennedy assassination. Two of them very similar, same date. Lincoln was killed by Kennedy. Kennedy was helped by Lincoln. This is almost like that. It's eerily similar. And even the 2 wins, while the only asymmetry is they won by 9, they won by 64. Both the first 2 were big wins. They were big wins. Then it's 1 wicket win. Then it's a 5 wicket win. Then it's a loss by few runs. It's fascinating.
And both those losses, as you can see, to Kings 11 Punjab, for CSK, it was their last game. It was almost as if the teams had a chase which they really didn't seem they were ever in. See, the result doesn't reflect it.
The reason why the table is looking so open right now is this, because SRH and CSK have been performing consistently in this tournament, but they've lost to the same team, and that's why the whole balance of the table is shifted. That's why all the teams today have got a chance. Like, even if DD has lost 4 games out of 5, they still in, because they have 2 points, 2-3 wins in a row will change the whole scenario for them, and again they will jump up the table. I think this is one of those seasons when teams have been actually scoring 16 points, but they were not sure. Like, usually if you have 16 points, you can breathe easy. You know that you've gone through. But I think this season, on 7 wins or 8 wins, it's one team will find it tough if the teams continue to perform and beat the stronger teams consistently.
Joy, we try and avoid any references in your case to KKR, but notice how no matter who's at the bottom of the table, Zach was slowly bringing up the fact that DD might be at the bottom and where they might be climbing up. You've been there and you've
teams.
Climbed up.
3 teams always special for me: RCB, Mumbai Indians, and DD for that matter. I think I've played for those teams.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I have
but being
that
captain,
kind of connection.
being captain there of a team that really has been through its share of struggles. Obviously, you know what it is. Yeah. To be at the bottom and fight your way to the top.
We spoke about that actually last night as well, because the last night's game was very important for DD. Because when you have this kind of matches and if you start slowly like this, you're not only dealing with this season, you're actually dealing with few seasons prior to that, and that baggage tags along. And I think for Delhi, that is going to be a crucial factor this season, because they have to now win matches consecutively. They have to create that kind of momentum, and they have to go out there hitting the ground, believing that they can do it, which is looking like a tough climb at the moment, to be honest.
The thing is that the only thing you do after, suppose you have a bad season this year, touchwood Delhi doesn't, but if they have a bad season this year, they can't really retool next season, because the next seasons are all mid what you call the mid years. Okay, the big auction year was this year. This was the year they could completely change their team, turn it around, change the look of the team. So yeah, if they don't do well, it's going to be tough on them.
Joy, on this show, given that you said touch wood, it's touch red table whenever you have to do that. You've got long reach, so that's going to be a trend that we're going to set from here. Touch red table, hashtag or not. Let's go to the playing 11s today, because if you noticed at the very top of the show, you would have seen one. We like to put out key performers there. One key performer we put out there for you was Shikhar Dhawan. But we saw the injury in his previous game. The big question mark was he going to play? Was he not? The big answer, he's not. So the real question we were asking before we saw these 11 was who comes in his place?
Yeah, and it's a very big one. If you look at it in real terms, that's 40% of the runs scored by SRH last year has gone. David Warner and Shikhar Dhawan together scored about 40%, and that's a huge percentage of runs. That's out. Okay, and it's important. Ricky Boy is a young player, plays for Andhra Pradesh. He was in that 2016 squad of where Ishan Kishan was the captain, the World Cup Under-19 team of 2016, young talent. Big opportunity, and it's interesting because when we were discussing the possibilities, Shrivats Goswami, who's been having a stellar year for Bengal, was actually top of our choice, and the reason is Lakshman knows him as well, so it's an interesting choice.
Yeah. I think, for any youngster, it's an opportunity. He's going to grab it with both the hands, and when your main player is resting, if you're taking that opening slot, it's always a good thing, because batting in this format, top 3 numbers is the best position to bat in. I think So at that position, you can take your time. So Ricky Bui has certainly got a great opportunity to showcase his talent. And when you talk about IPL, you talk about talent meets opportunity. So this is the opportunity for someone like Ricky Bui right now to showcase his talent. But the good thing for Sunrisers Hyderabad is Stanley is back. I think that's certainly going to strengthen the bowling attack, and when you look at CSK's back-end batting, I think it's those numbers are staggering. They've been hitting teams at last 3 overs, 4 overs at the rate of 13 runs per over, 14 runs per over sometimes. So from that point of view, it will be a very interesting battle to look for today's game. I think those back-end overs when SRH is bowling and CSK is batting.
You make a very interesting point. We'll look at the CSK lineup and come back to some numbers that will support exactly what Zaheer Khan's talking about right now. Some very, very, very strong numbers. Let's have a look at the CSK lineup. This is what the Sunrisers will be up against. The one change that's just seen in green, it's a batsman for a bowler. Now that's not something we see often. It's a straight out batsman in Faf du Plessis coming in place of his countryman, but a very different kind of player.
But I think it just shows you the amount of actual depth that they have, because the number of all-rounders they play. Their 11 normally has 3 all-rounders. You're basically playing definitely, Watson, Bravo and Ravindra Jadeja, bona fide all-rounders.
Karan Sharma can be put in that category.
Karan Sharma can be put there. Suresh Raina can bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, so you actually have 4-5 all-rounders, so they can actually swap a batsman for the bowler without having a situation where you're going to bowl, okay, we have just 5 bowlers left or something. It's a great situation to be in, but I mean, I'd be really interested in seeing where they bat Faf. Number one, probably they'll bat him at exactly where they're saying they're 4, but then they'll go against the entire philosophy of Dhoni saying that, okay, he's going to play 4 for the year. And normally when Dhoni said something, he sticks to it unless there's a very good reason to change.
I think the loss of Kedar Jadhav also has been hurting CSK, you know, because middle order otherwise was sorted. You know, Dhoni was always looking to play the role of that finisher because that really suits him. He can bat according to the situation of the game. But because Kedar Jadhav is not there, I think he's using this forced change as an opportunity to see where Faf stands, and if I have to go with this kind of combination, how will it pan out? You know, this is because in terms of bowling options, last game he had 8 options. Today his main bowler is one of the main bowlers is sitting out because of injury. He still has 7 options. So he's sorted with bowling, and in terms of rotation he is very smart. I think,
also now that when Karn Sharma came into the team, he hadn't played the initial couple of games, and with both him and Tahir in, maybe there was the thinking that could be slightly along similar lines, so why not strengthen the batting, because we've got enough bowling options. As you said, Suresh Raina, it'll give Jadeja a chance to actually bowl his 4 overs perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think, as I said, he's bringing on Jadeja slowly, and you never know what MS is thinking and how he's going to say it. Or suddenly he's going to toss the ball to Jadeja and say, you open the bowling, and really get him at the right time. But he's very smart that way, and he will make use of those opportunities. The big thing is that this ground, it's not bad for him that he's playing the extra batsman, because he's actually they're going to be batting first, and they look to bat SRH out of the match. SRH is not actually a great chasing team when it's high totals.
Right.
What about some numbers to support all these theories that we have in terms of, firstly, of course, power play scores? Because if you have a look at these, there's actually the average scoring rates in the power play. That's a startling difference. Kings 11 Punjab, of course, we know what's happening in the last few games. They have to be out there on top. But CSK at 9.96 and SRH 8.29, that is still a significant difference.
Yeah, because that over 6 overs is actually about 15 into 6, that's about 10 runs. 10 runs difference is actually the difference in the power play, because that's exactly what's going to happen, and that's quite a substantial difference. It also, they are missing Warner, there's no doubt about it. Question is, how much will they miss Shikhar now? And it's a great chance for Ricky Bhoi or another young player to come good, but that means your top order is, for whatever it's worth, it's going to be tentative, because you cannot expect Ricky Bhoi to come and start hitting it from the first ball. He has to give himself time.
And yes, even the middle order, I mean, I remember last season you had someone like Moses Enriquez who used to really be that solid number 3, and even when you did play a Williamson, he didn't have that pressure on him, A, as captain, and B, to really boost the scoring rate.
See, I think when you are looking at those numbers, I think 10 runs in power play is not much of a difference, provided you have wickets in hand. That's been approach of the teams starting slow in the power play. Usually their focus is to keep wickets in hand. If you are the run difference is along the wickets, if you lost 2 wickets or 3 wickets, then that 10 run difference is huge. But SRH over the past have seen that they're a slow starter. Even when Shikhar and Warner used to bat, they will take their time at the up. Then 10 runs you can make out. You can make up those runs in the middle overs if you have wickets in hand. If you've lost wicket, then the pressure falls onto you. So that's something, with numbers are actually you can relate to those kind of things, like with Chris Gayle and KL Rahul also. If you see, they're taking risk. When you're taking risk, you can lose wicket. You'll score those extra 10 runs in the power play, but you might lose 1 or 2 wickets.
Let's try and get another perspective on this particular whole discussion we're having, which is, of course, the SRH middle order. Remember, there's no Warner, and today there's no Shikhar Dhawan out due to injury. Ricky Bhoi comes in to join Riddhiman Saha at the top of the order. Let's hear from VVS Lakshman about this middle order.
They can be better, but potential is there, and right from the start, since the auction, we've been telling that there's a lot of potential in our middle order, and that's something which we really wanted to strengthen, and there is a potential. It was good that Manish Pandey got a half century, Kane Williamson is in good nick, Yusuf Pathan won us the game against Mumbai Indians in the partnership with Deepak Hooda, and then in Kolkata, Deepak Hooda played a fantastic knock to win us. So it's just about everyone coming together, but there is definitely potential, and we expect a lot from the middle order.
I think the key is Manish.
Well, certainly VVS Lakshman expecting a lot from the middle order, himself one of the kings of the middle order when he played. But I'm wondering, just a quick word at the top of the order. We saw Riddhiman Saha sort of reinvent himself when he scored that 100 for Kings 11 Punjab. Do you see him as the perfect man up there at the moment, the way things are?
Look, I think he's a perfect man for the situation they have now. Okay, and I don't believe that Riddhiman is a great trier. Riddhiman, if he has 100, he'll give 120%. But if you say that is he as talented as some of the other players that we see batting at the top of the order, no, he is not. Okay, but he's doing a great job for them. My big question is that they really need Manish Pandey to fire, because they need that one player who can both control it, play the 10-15 balls and increase the run rate if required, because the rest of the players, he and Kane Williamson are the keys in their ability, because they are genuine batsmen. Yusuf at the end of the day is a finisher. He's never going to be able to play the ball round and take singles. So
along with Huda, because actually if you look at it on paper, their batting lineup is looking very strong. In spite of losing Warner, in spite of losing someone like Shikhar right now, they can still compete. It's looking like this team is still capable of chasing down any target, because you have the likes of Kane Williamson who can play that anchor role, and all the others can rally around him. They can take chances. That's what you've seen in the KKR game as well. When in the tough conditions, Kane Williamson was just holding one end, batted through the innings, even though they were chasing just 140 runs. But the point which I'm trying to make is, if he's holding one side, the likes of Huda, Manish Pandey, Yusuf Pathan can play freely around him and score those runs, like those 170, 180. And you've seen in this format that one guy carries the inning through, even if he's hitting at 120, 130 strike rate. The others can bat at 150, 170, and you'll still get 180, 190 runs on board. So that's how this format is evolving. That's how teams are approaching, and Sunrisers for sure will approach the game in this fashion.
For some reason, I feel it would be probably not be a great idea to open with both Riddhiman Saha and Ricky Bhoi, because I think they're both makeshift openers in that sense. So I would say maybe a Williamson can come in and open at least, because one guy needs to be there, because if both of them start struggling, then they're in a lot of trouble in terms of being able to do it.
We actually were preempting my next question.
Williamson for sure. I think that thought process, when you see those kind of openers, as a bowler, I'm clearly thinking that they're giving that protection to Kane Williamson. They know that this guy, if he gets out with the new ball. Look at Mumbai Indians as well. Rohit opened the innings after 2-3 matches. Now he's batting in the middle.
I remember watching one of the first shows that we had here. What was that little bit you had about please make Rohit open?
Yeah.
The society you belong to?
Yeah, society for making Rohit open. Absolutely, it's exactly that. Kane Williamson, my point is that how do you protect him? And then Manish Pandey has to take responsibility.
But wouldn't you rather have Manish Pandey at 3 then?
No, I don't mind Manish Pandey at 3. I actually like Manish Pandey at 3, but Manish Pandey has to be told, you are our go-to player. You and Kane Williamson are our main batsmen. Everyone else are pivot batsmen around it. They're role players. You are the guys. You are the Rohits of our team. And I think they have to take that responsibility. I think Kane Williamson has taken it. Manish is still not used to being... Manish is used to being the kid who, once in a while will be playing a basing innings, because people like Gautam and all were the bulwarks of the team, Robin Gautam. He has to get used to the idea of being the main player, not the side player. I don't think he is mentally as yet.
Very interesting when you see the same player in a different setup, how that whole psychology of who comes before you, who follows you, and what role you have to play. That is all the beauty of this particular tournament. But there was a particular number that Zach touched on earlier, and I think let's dwell a little bit more on that, because we're talking about average team scores in this year's tournament, and I think here's a telling factor. Wow. You have a look at CSK and how far they are ahead of SRH. Let's refer to the start of the show where we told you that they've had very similar results. So it's not that their path to this stage has been different. Their results have been similar, margins of victories have been similar, and yet look at that difference. 35 runs in terms of average scores over 20 overs.
This tells me a great thing about the stats. I think CSK, this shows that the CSK's strength in winning matches is their batting. and SRH's strength in winning matches is their bowling. And this also shows that you can play the game in different fashion and achieve the similar kind of results. Because if you look at the number of matches both the teams have won, they are equaling. So they're achieving the result. The ways of achieving the result is different, but it's a very interesting stat because SRH over the years now have modified their thinking. They've understood this format that okay, we're going to invest in our bowlers. We're going to have the best bowling attack, and we're going to win matches. We need 170 runs. We have bowling to defend that, and that's what these numbers are showing. On the other hand, CSK, you've seen. Doesn't matter how many you get, we will chase it down.
We'll get more.
We will leave 50 for the last 3 overs, and we have the ability.
Doesn't matter how many wickets we lose, or if we bat first, we can lose by.
That's the belief they bring to the table, and they're still achieving success, and SRH is also achieving success and consistently winning.
Absolutely, and I think it also comes down to your philosophy. Think of it. Actually, if you see in a lot of matches, SRH is actually bowling just 5 bowlers. Whereas CSK is bowling 6, 7, 8 bowlers. You think they have more bowling strength. On paper, they have more bowling strength. But as for frontline attack bowlers, SRH has just better attack bowlers. And it's very interesting. You're right. You know, it's Dhoni's belief in his side as a team that we can chase down anything. And that's what they believe. And these guys think probably we can defend. If we put 160, we'll defend it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty, I think, of numbers, the way you look at it. I was trying to draw a parallel with our good common friend in the old days. He talked about statistics and short skirts, but I won't go there. Yeah. But it just, I don't even remember.
Well, I like statistics and short skirts. And the weather in Hyderabad is perfect for short skirts right now. 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Hyderabad. Anyway, I feel bad for the audience, you know. You've just about finished your paradise mutton biryani and all that. Before you have a chance to sleep, you're going to head to Gachibowli, you know, far out of town to go to the match. It's tough.
Does Joy always do this, start talking about food at this time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
food and numbers.
Food and numbers. In that order?
I'm Bengali, yeah.
So am I, pretty much.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all right. So let's try and keep away from food and numbers for the moment. Or no, let's keep away from food and stick to numbers. Because there was one number we promised you earlier on the show. We still haven't brought it to you, and it was what Zaheer Khan talked about, death overs. So it's not just about making a statement. We want to back it up with some numbers and have a look at this. These are astounding. He just made a point, and it is backed up by the numbers. The very fact that you've got CSK have their best scoring rate and SRH have the best economy rate, and these are in the death overs. What a battle it's going to be.
Yeah.
CSK are going to be piling it on at that time, and it's going to be the test for that bowling lineup with Billy Stanlake added. That's going to be a challenge.
Except I don't see Stanlake bowling at the death. I hope he's taking enough wickets and doesn't have to bowl at that time. Yeah. But it's, you know, there's this great thing in philosophy, what they say, that what happens when the, you know, unstoppable force meets the immovable object. You know, what happens then? And this is exactly like that. The CSK batting is an unstoppable force, and these guys are also not going to give away. So it's a mouth-watering clash. It's a genuinely mouth-watering clash today.
It's going to be an interesting one.
It certainly is. But interesting you mentioned about Stanlake, because the first impression I had of him when I saw him in the Big Bash, he was actually being used right at the death. He'd typically be bowling his couple of overs early on, and then so interesting to see how they use Stanlake today.
That'll be interesting. And my other feeling is that I think Stanlake will be given this thing to go after Watson, because I think Watson is a man who's been really getting runs for them up front, and he'll be told, get him out, you know, whatever you need to bowl to him, get Watson as soon as you can, because I think when those guys are chasing, Watson will be the key for them. Because see, somebody or the other will hit in the final overs, whether it's a Jadeja or this thing, but the guy who's giving them the foundation right now is Shane Watson.
Quick one person we haven't talked about. He's the eternal, he's Mr. IPL in a sense, Suresh Raina. Played forever, till a point he had the record of having never missed a match, more matches than anyone else. Hasn't really found form thanks to the injury. What a day for him to try and get...
He's looked good in the last game.
He looked good in the last game.
I think he's a match winner. So these kind of players, like we spoke about Lynn also last game, you know. So these kind of players are match winners. They're waiting for the opportunity, like, you know, and you cannot rule them out. So the fact that he's not scored the way he's been scoring in the past is that, you know, this innings is going to be a vital one, because you just one innings away from good form in this format, especially with good players.
Certainly is. And you know, we talked about the numbers and the food. I lied. There's a third aspect of Joy Bhattacharjya you cannot ignore, and that's when he gets the quizzing hat on. Joy Factor time. What's coming up today?
Interesting question. I think this one's something that Zaheer wouldn't like actually. There's a list in which the second, third, fourth and fifth names are Parvinder Ravana, Ravi Bopara, Rahul Sharma and Andrew Simons. Which player's name should be at the top of this list? My only hint to everyone is that this is not a list that Zach will like.
Okay, that's an interesting hint we'll leave people with, because we've
I know where it's heading.
You know my mind, you know it.
Okay, so we're not going to give anything away here. I guess, well, just looking at where we are right now, final thoughts, where the match starts. Am I allowed to ask you for predictions, the way things are going?
Well, we've been predicting and enjoying our time. I think I've done with my predictions.
Yeah, I was told that you're done with it, but now that I've...
2019 elections are Zach has said now election time only. I've got so many right now, I'm only going to do it during the elections.
No, in the presence of the red table, you cannot not give a prediction. So come on, let's at least go for a number.
You want a score prediction?
Just a score prediction,
Okay.
no results right now.
I think 175.
175.
batting first.
CSK batting first. So that, in a sense, looking at those numbers, maybe slightly below par, but fair enough. Joy, where are you going?
I think I'm going to go with 155 because I think that these guys are going to attack hard. And if they get a few wickets, I'd be interested in seeing what happens.
All right.
I think another prediction is CSK will start attacking beforehand. Usually they leave it till late, last 3 overs. I think today's game, they're going to just kind of change that kind of tactic and takes the Sunrisers. Yeah, take the game to the Sunrisers by surprise. I think, that will be the plan.
Surprise factor. There we've had it. You've heard it from Jay-Z on the show on Cricbuzz Live. Of course, I'm not going to go without my own number. I'm going to throw in conservative from them, 175, 155. I'm going 185. I reckon that there's enough in it from the Yellow Brigade. Perhaps also because I've got a few people in my fantasy team who I might prefer if they score heavily for CSK to get to that 185. But that's not all we're talking about. We're going to be back later on to try and review what's happened in the first innings. For now, that's all we have on Cricbuzz Live.